Hey everybody, this is Flores Gaming with episode 4, match number 1 with Burn here in Modern. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing if you like the content. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and a comment down below. So, last 3 episodes we've played Gruul Burn, we've played Rakdos Burn, we've also played Boros. Rakdos is probably the most efficient of the new builds with Skewer the Critics and Light Up the Stage. Boros is probably still better overall in terms of raw card quality and utility in terms of what the white cards offer, things like Rest in Peace, Path to Exile, Lightning Helix and such, but the Rakdos builds are picking up steam. This particular list is by one Mike Flores, the author of The Way of Fire, I believe, or Who's the Beatdown, one of those 2 articles. But he's a very noted, long-time semi-Magic professional player slash content producer. He's worked for Star City, he's been on the Pro Tour multiple times, but he is most known for playing Burn over the years. He was basically Patrick Sullivan before Patrick Sullivan. So his list was a little unique in what it was trying to do. The main deck, not very unique for these Rakdos builds. 4 Bump in the Night. 2 Grim Lavamancer are notable. No copies of Shard Volley in the deck. No copies of Skullcrack. So it's just 4 Bump, 4 Spike, 4 Bolt, 4 Light Up the Stage, 4 Riftbolt, 4 Skewer, 3 Searing Blaze, 19 lands, 4 Black Cleave Cliffs, 2 Blood Crypts, 3 Mountains. Kind of the build I would suggest if you're going to run a 2-color mana base with 19 lands. Personally, I'd probably run the 3rd Blood Crypt over one of the Grim Lavamancers, but that's just my critique. I prefer running 20 lands. Yes, sometimes I flood out, but I'd rather hit my land drops than not. Sideboard, he has a very simple sideboard. Fatal Push for anything casting cost 4 or less. Thought-Knot Seers, Tarmogoyfs, Knights of the Reliquary. A lot of stuff that can get out of the range of our burn spells. A lot of the power of Path to Exile without having to give your opponent a land. Searing Blood for the smaller creature matchups in which your Searing Blaze effects are good. Thoughtseize for any type of combo, potentially control matchups. Allows you to poke a hole in what your opponent's doing. Collective Brutality doubles as disruption for spell-based combo decks and control decks, while also giving you utility in the mirror. Can also function as a kill spell in certain matchups. Can 3 for 1 a counters company opponent. Kill a mana dork, strip them of a creature, drain them for 2, and against the burn mirror can be quite effectual. Can kill a creature, give you a little bit of life buffer, take one of their cards. I'm not completely sold on this sideboard, but I figured we'd give his list a spin, see how it goes. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into the league. So, last league, a lot of people pointed out a lot of misplays or things I could have done better. I want to thank everybody for their constructive feedback. I certainly didn't play well in some of those matches, but I certainly appreciate everyone's feedback. Even the Ad Nauseam matchup, which I think we had lost, ironically someone pointed out a line in which we actually could have won Game 3, so we very easily could have been 3-0 going into those final 2 matches. Obviously, being blue-white turns, we could have beaten Ad Nauseam if I had seen the right play line. And then the Burn Mirror, I just totally goofed in Game 3. So, I still think Boros is slightly better overall, but I do think Rakdos is a little bit more efficient. So, if you're about efficiency and want to forgo some of the kind of built-in advantages of playing the white cards like Lightning Helix and Rest in Peace. Granted, black can run Leyline of the Void, so black's not far behind in terms of utility because both Rakdos Charm and Leyline of the Void are relevant cards. Another deck that's starting to pop up that I might start doing a little bit of stuff with on the channel is Vanifear Pod is starting to pop up, and that is an infinite combo deck that produces a bunch of infinite, either Deceiver Exarchs, Village Bell Ringers, something Hippocamp, and Restoration Angel. Has the potential to produce basically a bunch of infinite attackers, much like Splinter Twin used to, or Kiki Cord did. In those particular matchups, Rakdos Charm serves as a kill spell. So don't underestimate the utility of Rakdos Charm, especially as new decks are starting to emerge. I'm thinking sometime, maybe this Friday, I'm going to record some matches with Vanafear Pod and see how that deck feels. For those of you that weren't around at Modern like 3-4 years ago, there was a card called Birthing Pod that was basically the mid-range deck of choice. It was basically Counters Company or Abzan. Abzan, Devoted Druid kind of stuff. Only it wasn't using Devoted Druid and stuff at that point. It was using like a 3-card combo that involved cards like Inoffense of the Foremost, and cards like Kitchen Finks to basically infinitely kill your opponent. Either gain infinite life or Murderous Redcap to infinitely kill your opponent. So yeah, that sounds pretty solid. Definitely gonna keep this one, especially on the play. Get to go 1-drop, 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 or 1-drop Eidolon, depending on which appears to be more useful. Like if we see like Cantrip go, it might be better to play Eidolon. Goblin God. Alright, so we are playing against Storm. So this is honestly debatable which line to go here. Could just be right to go 1-drop, 1-drop, and then follow up with Eidolon. If our opponent holds up a bunch of blue mana here, we're obviously going to have to unsub. Yeah, if they just hold up their mana here, we're going to have to hold up Bolt. But if they tap for some alright, they're just going to run out there. So I could bolt this, suspend Riftbolt, or just cast Eidolon. I'm just going to bolt this, suspend Riftbolt. So they could potentially punish us next turn. Because if they have a land, they get to go Dork plus unsub here. Feels like they only have 2 lands, which might have been why they ran out. They either only have 2 lands, or they... Looks like they only have 2 lands here. Go ahead and do this. Put them to 2, and then lock them under Eidolon. All lines lead to Ruin here, pretty much. And death by shocking in. Cool. So... interesting sideboard. I think we bring in these, go down the Grim Lavamancers. Might bring in like 2 copies of Thoughtseize. Normally I just bring in my Graveyard Hate and my 1 mana interaction for their dorks. Down copies of Light Up the Stage here. Try like that. Very weird sideboard for a Storm matchup. I don't know, Mr. Flores. The sideboard is very weird, my friend. It's definitely a hand we keep. It certainly would be better if we had like a fetch land so we could hold up Searing Blaze for their idiots. This is another matchup where not having as much instant speed interaction can be a problem. Sleight of hand on top of their deck. So we're in the awkward spot of we really can't hold up interaction. Well, I mean, we could bluff interaction, but it's going to slow down our clock, so I think we just have to go with the ye old kill our opponent plan and hope it's good enough. Thoughtseize, huh? Well, hopefully Thoughtseize can poke a hole in their hand here. Baral Madcap Experiment, huh? That's a naughty opponent. It's not one you see every day. Pass, see what they do here. So their hand right now is Steam Vents, Gifts Ungiven, feels bad to let Nylon go here. Seriously, you drew an unsub? Oh, okay. I was like, seriously, you drew an unsub off of that one draw step? And if they don't draw anything here, they're just dead this coming turn, so. That's annoying. Just out of curiosity, this probably won't work. Alright, well. Madcap Experiment off the top. Lucky them. Alrighty, so how much am I supposed to respect Madcap Experiment here? I might even sideboard it out too, is the ironic part. Not really sure that we're supposed to change much. Searing Blood doesn't do anything. Light Up the Stage. Brutality and Thoughtseize are obviously considerations, but we're on the play. We don't really want to dilute our deck too terribly much. This hand is obviously terrible. This is how you lose to Storm. course, we somewhat undo their mulligan here. See what they do with their scries here. Both cards on top, huh? Hopefully they don't have ritual into Madcap Experiment. That'd be extremely frustrating. Grape shot, clear our board. Spike you. Spike you. Alright, got there, and again, Storm displayed our weird sideboard from one Mr. Mike Flores. So this has been Dust for Dusted on Gaming with episode 4, match number 1.